Hello! Welcome once again to whatever I called this. This is episode 6 or 5, I don't know. Well, whatever. I'm Drew, Generic Fighter, and I'm here to talk to you about something. With all the interesting things going on in the real world, people having problems with, people they're related to. And I thought I'd talk about one of my problems. With a lot of, fantasy in general, but D&D in particular, characters. In older editions, 3rd and before, there were a lot of character options that were basically that were basically part this, part that. I mean, how many kinds of PC race, species, whatever, were basically, my grandma done did it with a insert name of supernatural or extraplanar creature here. Aasimar had some kind of celestial in their history. Tieflings, some kind of fiend. There are half dragons. Half orcs, half dwarves, half elves, half all sorts of weird things. And basically it was overwhelming. There was too many options, and it was too the same. You could basically have the same general idea of a character and just kind of insert, okay, my grandma did it with a dragon. No, oh wait, we don't have that. How about a demon? Angel? A gelatinous cube? Fine, an elf. Basically, that was kind of a problem for me. However, one of my favorite editions, 4th edition, did something about that with its fluff. Basically, it took 3 of the concepts that were, the most egregious of these. The Aasimar, the Tiefling, and the dragon, half-dragon, dragonborn, or whatever. And basically gave them a different kind of background. The Aasimar became the Devas. Instead of being like descendants of some kind of celestial or angelic being, they were actual factual angels of sorts. That basically decided, instead of going off to their deity's realm, decided to stick around in the mortal planes and basically be kind of guides and basically be there when they're needed. And as part of this, they're not really mortal, but not really immortal. They can die. They just can't die of old age. But disease and wounds can do it. And when they die, they don't go back to their god. No, they're reincarnated somewhere else in the world. Needs them. They have some memories of their past, but basically, it's more vague, and specific skills like, say, knowing how to cast magic or how to fight with a sword is pretty much lost, which explains why they end up being 1st level or whatever. But it's a cool concept, and I've used it. I had a character in one campaign that was a Deva, and basically the fact that he was pretty much immortal, and the fact that we did a time travel thing where the party traveled back in time a few decades. It gave me a lot of cool things I could do with him. He was pretty much the only main character that had some connection back there that wasn't, there wasn't a problem. Sure, the druid was basically trying to get her mother and father, together, but, the other members of the party didn't really have a thing going on. But Adaya the Deva had that connection that he was basically immortal. And so, the whole thing was, he met some of his Deva friends from that time who recognized him and basically gave him a connection and also gave some backstory. Since we started the campaign, Adaya had almost no memory of what would happen before, especially of his last couple of lives, so it was kind of weird. And basically, through his friends, we find out that basically Adaya went bad. And when a Deva goes bad, they end up a Rakshasa. And currently, in this past time, there was a Rakshasa version of Adaya. And basically, all that cool stuff ended up being interesting. And, well, it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Deva being basically immortal, reincarnating guardian angels. Now, the other big changes in the origins of, was with Tieflings and Dragonborn. Dragonborn ended up not really being part dragon or distantly descended from dragons. They're just kind of a reptilian people that were basically adopted by dragons and gifted some small part of draconic power and influence, being able to breathe, powerful breath occasionally, of flames or ice, lightning, so forth. Or even occasionally be able to inspire fear in those around them. Basically, it was a cool thing. And basically, they had a big old empire back in the day, Arcosia. And basically, there was also, the Tieflings has something similar. The Tiefling people were originally humans. But basically, their leader of their nation basically made a deal with the devil and basically turned them into Tieflings. And after that, basically, they were living, breathing, walking reminders of exactly why no one should ever, ever, ever make a deal with the devil. And actually, I decided to go a little farther with that. My own homebrew. And do some specific things with that by basically fleshing out that story a bit more. So, basically, my story starts in the pre-Tiefling Empire, where basically it's a terrible place. The leaders are corrupt. Pretty much everyone's corrupt. And in a brothel, a boy is born. The child would be known as Zethus. And basically, he would see what was going on, all the horrible things, and basically, be unable to do anything about it. Until basically his mother didn't do good enough job with a client and got killed, and everyone else there. And there he is, around the corpses of all of his family, and unable to bear it. If only he had help. If only someone would help him he would do anything. And someone came. A lady who would turn out eventually to be a powerful devil. And made a deal with this young man. I will give you the power to take down those who have wronged you. In exchange, I need two things. I want you to wed my daughter, and I want you to dedicate your new nation to me, to Lady Tarathi. And so, this young man became the first infernal warlock of the world, and with his power toppled that regime, got his anger on the foes, and after a fierce battle, flung the head of the king off the highest balcony of the keep, and declared that he was now the first emperor of Baal Tarath, Zathos. And at that point, every single human being in the nation changed, growing horns, their skin going reds and oranges, and occasionally other colors, tails sprouting from their back, hooves on some of them, and so forth. And not a single one of them remarked on it. Not a single one of them thought anything strange had happened, that nothing was different, except for Zathos. And as it would turn out, his descendants. But it's a thing. He got what he wanted. He got an empire, and he got to take revenge on those that had hurt him. And now, the empire of Baal Taroth began. And, well, it was a surprisingly better place than before. Sure, very lawful, fairly evil. But it was more orderly, and the rules were at least something you could follow. And if you followed them, no problems. And so, however, another empire was building up nearby. The Dragonborn of Arcosia were also starting to make an empire of themselves, and they were fairly close. The Dragonborn, being very proud of their skill and strength, sent a ambassador to the Tieflings of Baal Tarath, basically asking for tribute, or, well, you'd understand what it was. Basically, the ambassador's head got sent back to Arcosia, and, well, basically war. For several generations, the Tieflings of Baal Tarath and the Dragonborn of Arcosia fought off and on, basically neither really having a big advantage. Sure, there would be a push forward for a while and then push back, and basically they were fairly evenly matched. But after several generations, both sides got really, really sick of it and decided just to send every they could against the other. And they had a big battle, and then something went weird. Some kind of strange, wild magic interaction caused a massive, destructive pillar in the middle of the conflict that quite literally went down into the Underdark, through the Underdark, past it. It is rumored it went all the way to the other side, though no one's attempted to find out. This event that created what would one day be known as the Hole in the World basically scared both sides shitless. Quickly, both sides basically sued for peace. Both of them wondering if the other side had caused this, and wondering if they might be able to redo it, to recreate it. And if so, yeah. And basically, decades of basically both sides trying to figure out if the other side did it, how they did it, and how to either prevent it or to do it themselves. This meant that the royal families of both nations would basically be a part of, negotiations and stuff. Little things like, taking this, taking some trade back from here or there or whatever, or making sure our merchants and such can go through this pass and so forth. Well, but youngsters are not really interested in doing what they're told. And so, on one of these trips, the Crown Prince of Arcosia, Jalad, and his little brother, Barash, got away from their babysitters, and they came across 3 tieflings about their age. The Crown Prince of Beltarath, Dathan, his twin brother, Darmok, and their little sister, Callista. And basically, they ended up becoming friends, playing with each other, talking, playing games, and so forth. And basically decided, hey, next time our parents are there to argue with each other, let's meet up. Barash had some very good skills with magic and managed to create a communication system, a pair of stones that you could talk to one and hear from the other. And so, for a couple of years, this happened regularly. The children of both royal families would basically meet up somewhere and have fun. And then the plague came. The boiling death, as it was called. For this disease caused, the blood to literally heat up to the point where it boiled the person alive. And it took out large chunks of people in both nations. The north country of Arcosia was nearly wiped clean. Much of the farmland in Beltarath was also afflicted by this. In addition, the Emperor and Empress of Arcosia and Beltarath succumbed to this disease. Suddenly, new emperors in both nations, Jalad in Arcosia and Dathan in Tarath. And being friends, they really didn't want to have war happen again. So they came up with a very ingenious plan. The north country of Arcosia had been hit hard. And north of Arcosia, the frost giant clans were. And the instant they knew that the border was, almost unmanned, they would attack. And they would attack in droves. Hordes of them. So Emperor Dathan sent some of his Beltarath's finest legions there. And he told them, fight alongside them and show your skill, show your determination, and show your training to them. Show that they could never, ever take you down with them. Show them right there by their sides that they have no chance against you. It actually kind of worked. The Tiefling hordes, the Tiefling legions, working in close combat with the remaining Dragonborn, fought well. The northern reaches is where most Dragonborn who had a fiery breath attack were sent, because the Tieflings were generally resistant to it and would do little or nothing to them. And the frost giants and other icy creatures were not really happy about fire. And now, these two different people worked together. The Tieflings worked very well as a team, taking down frost giants easily by distracting them and striking quickly, surrounding them. The Dragonborn, though, were tough and could take on several of them, distracting those frost giants, while others dealt with them. They even came up with techniques and tactics, having the tieflings charge a foe, and the Dragonborn breathing out upon the whole skirmish, so the tieflings would be little more than perturbed by the flames. Also a very intimidating tactic, for considering the frost giants were not happy with this, and watching their foes literally, barbecue their allies is a bit disconcerting. Together, the tieflings and Dragonborn managed to do this. And through it, they earned grudging respect for each other. Even real respect. Even friendship for some. They had fought side by side. And they knew that both sides were tough and strong and capable. But together they were unbeatable. Meanwhile, the farming country of Beltarath had been hit hard. The tiefling people being fairly resistant to fire in general, and heat. Well, the disease didn't hit them as hard. Sure, it hit them, and it would likely kill most of them. But it was slower acting upon them. Emperor Jalad of Arcosia knew that sooner or later, that even though it would be delayed, there would be massive casualties there. And so he called upon the best healers and priests of Arcosia and told them, Go to the farmlands. Show the average tiefling that we have faith in our God, and our God will do thing to help us, even heal sworn enemies. Show them that Bahamut is merciful and kind, and show them our honor, that no foe, no matter how bitter, deserves to die in such a way. Show them that we have mercy and honor, and show them that they cannot assail that with any blade or arrow. And so, the most skilled healers and priests and paladins were sent out to go across the farmland, heal the sick, and also to keep the farms going while healing was going on. It takes a lot out of a healer or a priest to perform their powerful rituals, and only so many could be done in a day. So, basically, together, they worked hard. The healers saved countless lives. Paladins and other tended to the sick until they could be healed. And others, alongside the healthy, to till the land, to feed, and so forth. And in doing so, the common people of Beltarath learned the Arcosians are like us. They are honorable, they are merciful, and they are hardworking. And the Arcosians saw that the common folk of Beltarath were not too different from them. They worked hard. They cared about those around them. They cared about what they were doing. And they did their jobs, and they did it well. And so an era of peace came across both nations. And with it, the time of happiness, and of course prosperity for both nations. Though there were those in both that, were not happy about this, having old grudges and old axes they wanted to bury, and heads that they wanted to bury them in. Well, mostly it was good. Of course, the friends still were friends. But with the new duties, they were not able to do all that they wanted to anymore. But on one occasion, Barash, now the ambassador to Baal Tarath from Ecosia, convinced Emperor Emperor Dathan to come drink with him. Hey, old friend, you remember that bard we went and saw back in the day? Hey, he's really famous now, and he's playing down at the tavern. Come on, let's go, one last time. And so, under a cloak, the two friends head down, have a drink, and listen to the bard. Well, Rosh noticed his old friend eyeing one of the serving girls. A very unusual, since she was very blonde. A very rare thing for the tieflings. And, well, he knew his old friend was still kind of shy around the ladies. So offering to grab refills, he went and talked with the serving lady and told her, hey, friend's a little shy, but I think he'd like to have a dance with you. Why don't you ask him on break? And so the Emperor Tarath met his future Empress. And at their wedding, of course, Jalad was the best man. But Rosh ended up being godfather of their first child. Emperor Dathan decided to mark this occasion with a new name, and named his daughter after the virtue he hoped that she would lead and keep their nation and the world in. He named her Hope. Hope was, well, looked a lot like her mother, but had her father's. And basically, life seemed to be going well for all of them. The new naming convention of naming a child after virtues began to spread amongst Baal Tarath. Many, many children were also called Hope. But there was unrest in the world, and a group, Dragonborn, wanted to start the war up again. They had managed to get one of their own into the Royal Guard. And so during one of those meetups, the plan was sprung. A group would basically attack the Emperor's sister, who was frail but had managed to survive. Yeah. But now, well, not in the best of health. So basically, attack and kill her. And then when word got to the dinner where the emperors and empresses of both nations were, basically was the strike. And when a guard came in, the door nearly collapsed. Ambassador Rosh rushed to his side. And when the words it says Calista has been murdered, the attack happened. Emperor Dathan and Emperor Jalad both were struck down. So were both the empresses. An attempt on Darmok's life, though, was thwarted by his own arcane might. But Barash, seeing the fury in Darmok's eyes, he thought that he was to blame, that this was, planned. He was a part of it. Ambassador Barash rushed off to get his goddaughter, barricaded him and her in their room, and began his magics to cast a ritual that would send them far away. But as they were about to finish the ritual, Darmok and his guards burst in. An eldritch blast of power shot off at Ambassador Barash as the final motions. The ritual went off. And the two of them disappeared. And they reappeared in a place neither of them recognized. It was not where Sir Barash had intended. But it didn't matter now. Ambassador Barash collapsed and died there. And now alone, not even knowing where she was, hope was lost to time. After this, the war started up again. Both sides basically ended up destroying the other more or less, and their people scattered. And though the naming tradition of virtues continued on amongst the tiefling people, never again was a tiefling child named Hope. It was seen as a bad omen, seeing as the first one named that had, disappeared, and all of those who had that name as well, had bad ends. And that was the story I used to explain not only how the Tiefling and Dragonborn empires collapsed, but also to explain that strange naming convention of the Tieflings, that being virtues, and to basically put out that one of those virtues is never used again. So, that's what I wanted to talk about today. All about some family problems. And I think that's about it for this time. So, I don't know, roll dice. And may the dice bot like you. Actually, never mind. That's going to be bad luck for you. RNG is not fun. RNG doesn't like you. RNG is not like real world Jesus. Real world Jesus kind of likes you and wants you to be happy. RNG hates your guts and wants you to die in the most humiliatingly painful way possible. RNG is not your friend. But, what is that phrase? Keep your friends closer and your enemies. Keep your friends close and enemies closer. And honestly, RNG probably is most of our enemies. So have fun rolling virtual dice, and hopefully it's not terrible. I think that's it. Well, good night.